Hello everyone, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to get your YUKONG, your free YUKONG. But not only that, I'm going to be showing you how to beat memory of the Xianzhou 1 through 6. Now I should say before the explanation starts of this stuff, 6 is currently extremely hard for free-to-play players. So hard that I can't beat it with my extremely lucky account. I've had an extreme amount of luck on my free-to-play account, and I can't beat it with all of this. So it is extremely hard, but I will show you how to beat 1 through 5, what is enough to get YUKONG. And also, if you're just wondering how to claim your YUKONG, you've already done that and you're wondering how to claim it, well, all you do is you go to your travelogue, and then it was between these two, I believe. And that's how you claim it once you have beat enough stages in memory of the Xianzhou. Now, starting off, we have Xianzhou Stage 1. Now, the comp I used for these was basically a mono lightning comp with Jingyuan, Tingyun, Bronya, Silverwolf, not Bronya, and Bailu, and then for the other team, I just used my normal Sealer team. But you might not have these characters, so let's go over some characters that are good for these stages. So, first of all, with this one, physical is extremely good for the first half. So you're going to want to use your Susheng, and you're going to want to use your Natasha. You also have your Tingyun here, what might be beneficial for this first half. And if you have Welt, if you already have a YUKONG and you're just going for, well, your second YUKONG, you can use your YUKONG there. But those are the best units for this stage. If you only have free-to-play units, well, it could be a slight bit harder for you. But you can just use your Saval and you should get through it. Saval is basically your main DPS if you're free to play. Now for the second half here, it's a little bit harder than the first half, but you can just use your Dunhung, and well, you can use main character, and then you can use March. Those will basically act as your shielders. And then you can use Asta as a support for the second half. With those two teams, you should have a pretty easy time with this. It's only level 50, but if you're under-leveled, it's going to be a harder time, but even harder when we get to Stage 2. Now, Stage 2 is harder than Stage 1, but here you have DOT as an increased damage bonus. So if you end up getting Kafka, it's going to be much easier for you on this stage. But Kafka isn't out for a little bit. Also, another good character on this stage is Blade. Both of those are new characters, and if you have either of them, they're going to be beneficial here, especially for Yanqing. Yanqing is pretty difficult, not the most difficult, but sort of difficult. But for Yanqing, you can basically use Dunhung, you're going to use... And we're back, I just choked on some spit, don't mind me. Also, Senpo is extremely good, and I believe I was saying that Tingyun is extremely good for the second half. And then you can just throw in a Natasha, and that will basically complete that side. And then for the other side, you're going to be using Saval, obviously. You're going to be using Asta because you need supports. You can... Oh yeah, also for this side, if you have Yukong, you can use Yukong. Pela is extremely good. Xianzhou, if you want to take the gamble on her, she might work out. And you're also going to need your 2 damage sponges, basically. Your shielders. And with those 2 comps, they'll probably work out. You can try change it around a little bit, but basically you want to be doing those 2 things. You want to be following the recommended types, and you should be able to get through it. It's not too hard for this one, so you should be able to manage to do it, especially if you are over level 70 on your characters. And with that, on to the next stage where it gets even harder. Stage 3. So, this stage is a little bit more restrictive because you have 2 bosses here, so you need to plan your team around them. My recommendation for this side is to use the main character, March 7th, Dunhung, and whatever support you want to use. So looking at this, you can use a Pela. Yeah, let's just say Pela. Pela is extremely good. And then for this side, you need electric and you can use physical. So electric and physical, Saval, Sushang. Those 2 can act as your DPSs. And then on top of that, you want to use Ting Yun as a support. And you obviously need your Natasha to heal. So with those, you should be able to beat stage 3. Stage 3, after an ally uses basic attack, increased damage dealt to them and adjacent to allies reduces their damage received by 50%. So yeah, that's the modifier on this. It doesn't really matter that much, if I'm being honest. The modifier doesn't really matter on this stage. You just want to be dealing as much damage as possible and try to beat it. These 2 teams should work out. You can try a few different things, but these are probably some of the best characters for this stage. Now, moving on to stage 4. After an ally uses their ultimate or launches a follow-up attack, additionally deals set amount of damage to the attacked enemy target. So, you want to be using your ultimate a lot. And yeah, that's basically it. You can basically get through this stage if you just keep using your ultimates and targeting like the enemies next to the other enemies, and it'll go relatively quickly. So for characters that use their ult, you want maybe an AoE character that might be useful. So March 7th, let's just go with the second team setup first. So March 7th, main character, and then you also want Asta. Asta, main character, March 7th, and then you're gonna need a main DPS. Yanqing would be extremely good for this, but if you don't have Yanqing, you can use Sealer. Sealer is extremely good. We're finally getting into the stuff where you sort of need some kind of units to complete it. But if you don't have any of those units, just use something like Sushang. And then for this stage, use Dunhung as a main DPS. That's who you want to be using since, as you can see here, yeah. it has the wind weakness, and then for the other one, you could use a Su Sheng, but just use healer. It's a bit, to be honest, without any characters, without like that much, with only the like 3 characters, it's very hard to beat this one because you want to have multiple typings and stuff. And Xianzhou, you can use it here. Xianzhou is actually rather good as a main DPS for this, but Xianzhou is still kind of copium. Everything you're going to be doing here is kind of copium. You just need to work within the recommended types, and you should be able to beat it if you're level 80. It's going to be a bit hard. I'd recommend focusing most of your attention on this boss, because this boss is a lot harder than these two. These two, you sort of just need to out heal them and eventually you'll beat them. But this one is a lot harder. So moving on to stage 5, where every team you use is probably going to be some sort of copium. So on the second side, you have gorilla. You got the gorilla and you got the wolves. This side I find is a bit easier. The first side is a bit harder because he's just tanky. So you might want to prioritize your damage here. You can use YUKONG, you can use Danheng, you can use, well, I guess you can use Herta, you can use Pela. And obviously you're going to need your healer, so you're going to need Natasha there. And then for the second side, you're going to want to use MC, you're going to want to use March 7th, not in this exact order, I'm just not really laying out the teams very well for this one. Since at this point, if you're going for this, you should have a pretty good understanding of the game. And, you know, I'm just going to try and explain how to do this. Because it's not too complicated, but you just need to have units that deal enough damage at this point. Because at the point of enemies a higher level than you can actually level to, the game gets extremely hard at this level, so you're going to need to be using some stronger units. So for the second half, you want your Asta, and then you might want a Su Sheng. And for the first half, Danheng, Natasha, let's just say YUKONG, and maybe Herta. Like, that might do, or if you have a Pela, it's all interchangeable at this point. And if you have any of the banner units, just use those. The banner units are generally better than any of like the 4-star characters you get for free. Just use the 5 stars you get. That is probably the best way to beat all of this. Then the reason why memory of Xianzhou stage 6 is basically impossible for anyone who's not a whale or just really lucky is because they have an insane amount of health at this point. Like, both Kafka and the Ascended, they have insane amounts of HP, and you honestly just need to have enough DPS. At this point, they're level 90 and you're just going to have enough DPS to beat them. You can't really survive too long even with Bailu. Bailu helps, but like, you won't survive very long against them. You just need enough damage to beat them. What is very, very, very hard. You probably won't have enough damage to beat them. So for now, free to players, it's going to be extremely hard, but for some general what characters would be good for this, well, Xianzhou. Xianzhou is extremely good for the first one, and then Blade is pretty good for Kafka. Another character that's pretty good for Kafka would be like Clara. That's also the same for the first one. The Ascended is Clara is very good against it. Clara is a very good unit against both of these, but mainly the Ascended she'll probably be best with. And then, yeah, just use the best things you can and follow the recommended types. I'll probably make a comment when I do beat this. I'll make a comment under the video saying how I beat it. But for now, this is just an extremely hard stage. I should mention though, I remembered this just now, you should use a lot of buffers and a lot of healers. Because this thing up here, it basically makes it so your allies do more damage and you get rid of the debuff. So this makes Kafka way easier than usual, because you can just dispel the debuff that she puts on you and you will no longer be dominated. Unless you want that. Anyway, with all of that said, this should be the end of the video. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'll be putting my run unlisted, and I will also put that in the description so everyone can get an idea of sort of what the enemy's mechanics are and stuff, and what I did myself to beat it. Obviously, I have an extremely, lucky account, so my account might be, might have a few more characters than yours does, and might have different characters to what yours does. So my run won't be exactly the same as what yours will be, but hopefully that video in the description will help out a little bit. Anyway, I hope this video helped. If it did, leave a like, leave a subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos on Honkai Star Rail and a few other gacha games in the future, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, also I'll be replying to stuff in my Discord if you want to come and ask some questions. So, with all of that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! Hope this guide helped.